UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
Infinite diversity.
Live long and prosper, and Happy New Year. Welcome to Infinite Diversity, a Star Trek Universe podcast, here on the United Federation of Podcast Network. I'm your host for today, Justin, and joining me are my co-hosts, Chrissie and Brandon. So, Chrissie, how are you doing, and have I made progress and earned either your utter indifference or your aloof disdain? Have I?
You're doing better than either of those. I did love that scene.
Oh, good.
Because that's a cat. Yeah. And I gotta say,
it can be. Yeah.
Aloof disdain is really the equivalent of love out of a cat. So she's doing all right.
All right. And welcome to 2022 for our listeners. It's still 2021 as we record this, but it'll be a new year when this comes out, if you can believe it.
We've time traveled.
What a decade so far. Yeah. So, Brandon, how are you doing?
I'm doing really good. Just 1 second, guys, here. Siri, play music. Guys, group hug. Come here.
Is something wrong with you? Are you okay? You never want a group hug. So, yes. Do we have our own little sentient AI within the podcast that we need to worry about?
Man, I'm sure we do. I don't trust computers of any type at all. Like, I'm sure somebody's watching us right now.
I think they have better things to do, probably. But
Probably.
Whoever watches. Anyway, great to have you guys here. Well, before we jump into our topic for the day, we'd like to take a moment to thank our Patreon patrons who make our show possible, particularly our associate producers, Justin Oser. Oh, wait, that's me. Particularly our associate producer, David Willett. And I'm also on that list. I'm just reading what's here. Anyway, listeners, we'd love to add your name to that list, and we can do that with your monthly subscription of just $10 at patreon.com/UFPEarth. It's all uphill from here because I've thanked myself for supporting the network, I guess.
Thank you, Justin. I'll thank you.
Yes, I'll say thank you as well.
Yeah.
Hey, Justin, before we jump into the news there, I just wanted to make sure to say Voyager. Voyager, Voyager. Don't forget about Voyager, so that when Saru becomes captain at the end of the season, it hasn't come out of nowhere. We have to say Voyager in every episode this season.
Okay.
Voyager.
And if he doesn't become the captain of that ship, you owe me billions of dollars. I do remember that pledge you made, and it is completely legally binding. Anyway, but yes, we better see that Voyager J. I'm serious. Yeah.
I think it's a subtle campaign for us to remember about Prodigy.
Maybe.
Probably not.
Maybe. Well, all right. Now that you've taken us into that aside, Brandon, let's talk about some news. So,
one second. Voyager. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, we got it. Great. I'm sure you'll interrupt me to say it like every 10 minutes in this episode. But you got it through your system now? Okay. So listeners, we've recorded the last couple of episodes on the Thursday the episodes come out. And of course, right after we recorded, a news item came out, which is that Star Trek Discovery is taking a bit of a hiatus. So the episode we're talking about today is going to be the last Discovery episode we're going to see until February 10th. So what we've seen today is a mid-season finale, but then we're going to pick up Prodigy next week. So this was kind of a last-minute announcement. Personally, I'm not too surprised because I think they're trying to make sure that there aren't two series going on at the same time, and they've got a lot of series they want to kind of rotate together. But Chrissie, what did you think of this news?
I'm so glad because we aren't going to have to try to find the time to either have a 2-part episode or 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I would be happy to have Star Trek, and I want lots of it, but let's go one at a time.
Yeah, I think all three of us expressed that on that day. It's like, oh, we're so relieved we don't have to do that. Because there was 1 week we had to do it with Prodigy and Discovery, and wow, that was a lot of prep because we were doing it on the day 2 episodes came out.
Well, it's already tough enough because we've been doing the books as well, too, right?
Yeah.
We're doing the books too, yeah.
You sent that, literally that news announcement came like 10 minutes after we finished recording, and then you sent it to our private chat, and I'm like, I am so relieved to see this news. So,
Yeah. As a podcaster, totally relieved to see that news. As a watcher of Discovery, I totally want to see the next episode next week. But it's cool. A bit divided on it, but yeah, and I think it seems like we're going to be seeing more of this. We already have Prodigy that's going to be in at least 3 different parts for their 20-episode season. So I think we're going to see more of this, and this is kind of their way of handling that and trying to promote things and kind of shift gears. So
what if going forward, they just like 1 week is Discovery, the next week is Strange New Worlds, the next week's Picard, the next week's Prodigy, and then the next week's Discovery?
I don't think they'll do that, but because you definitely lose momentum.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting to do that.
I don't think so either. No.
Yeah. That would be quite interesting. But anyway,
I don't think that we're like that. We had the one episode of Prodigy like overlap, and there's supposed to be more Prodigy overlap. I don't think we will get to where Discovery and Picard are overlapping. I don't think they'll do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well. Because Picard was supposed to start in February, but now I think they'll probably push that out somewhat until Discovery finishes its season, something like that. So maybe we'll get Picard in March-ish. Yeah,
it's a different thing to have Prodigy and one of the bigger shows, one of the heavier shows, live action shows to go over, as opposed to having Picard and Discovery going on at the same time. And can you imagine both of them have a major plot point episode? And yeah, that's too much.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have like a 2-hour Paramount Plus only movie that crosses over all 5 of the shows.
Hey, why not?
That?
I mean, they did that over on the CW, where they had like a 4-part Supergirl, Flash. I don't know, because I didn't watch it, right? But I know.
Yeah, but here's the question: we have live action and animated shows. Is it going to be all animated? Is it going to be a mix?
The people who do the voices on Lower Decks have already expressed the desire to do a live action scene or episode.
I totally know they've expressed that desire, but it would cost money to build that set for Lower Decks. So.
Well, no, as they use them, they're on sets they already have. They just,
that maybe they could redress Discovery or something. But anyway, it's interesting to think about.
Yeah, agreed.
Really doubt that 5-way crossover is happening, but if it does, you heard it here first. Okay, so also join with us today is Ebony Thomas. So welcome to Infinite Diversity, Ebony.
Thanks for having me. It's so cool to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. I think I've followed you on Twitter for a while. You're a great Star Trek follow. And also I heard you on the Trek Ranks podcast. You were talking about your favorite Discovery Season 3 moments. So I thought this will be perfect to have her on to talk about a Discovery Season 4 episode. But let's just get started. Tell our listeners, your history with Star Trek.
I'm so excited to be here. Such an amazing podcast, and it's so cool. This is such great nerd validation. So I've been watching Star Trek since I was little. So let's see, I'm in my 40s now. So that would be in the 1980s. So before the Next Generation premiered, before TNG, Star Trek was always on in my childhood. And so I think I might have said this on Trek Ranks, but my mom hates Star Trek because her first husband, long before I was born, she's like a lot of baby boomers, had like an early, 18-year-old marriage. And her first husband loved Spock. He was a huge Spock super fan. And so she hated Spock because she said her husband tried to emulate Vulcan logic. And my mom was very emotional. And so every time I would have Star Trek on the television, because we didn't have cable yet back then, she would say, "Turn that off. I can't stand that." And that's how I know all about her first husband, because he loved Star Trek, the original series, back when they were first married, and thought of himself as Spock. And so if you are a kid and you want to oppose your parents, what do? You like all the things they hate. So it was inevitable that I would become a Trekkie because my mom hated it. I still can't get her to watch any Star Trek out.
So she's probably not going to be listening to this podcast.
No, not at all. Recently I've gotten her to look at comics, movies, and television shows. She said she's finished The Wheel of Time and she loved season 1 of The Wheel of Time. And I won a World Fantasy Award for a book where the first line is, "There is no magic." And I said, this quote comes from my mother. So she's improving, but I just think that unfortunately, Mr. Harris, her first husband, ruined Star Trek for her forever. But I'm going to keep working on it.
Okay.
And I'm going to work on I have 6 nieces and nephews, and I have made Trekkies of 2 of them. So 2 down, 4 to go. That's my
doable.
history with Star Trek. It's a long one.
It's very interesting. Like, it's so interesting to see how different people come to it because everybody is different, right? So that's a very interesting story how you came to it. But now you're a huge Star Trek fan, so that's great.
You were such a rebel. You watched Star Trek.
I know. That was my rebellion. I was like, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Willett time.
Yep.
I loved science fiction and fantasy as much as she hated it because that was what you did. My mom was a cool kid, man. She was like a model. She partied in the 70s. Like she was, and I was like, no, I'm not doing any of that. And let's go to cons. So yeah. I've always been a Trekkie.
I love that.
That's so interesting. Yeah. Thanks for sharing your story with us. So today we're going to talk about the latest Discovery episode, which is season 4, episode 7, But to Connect. And I guess I'll let our listeners know, you've just finished watching this episode right before this, so it'll be very interesting as you're processing it. So we start out with initial impressions. So, what's your initial impression overall of the episode?
Whoa! I mean, first of all, how lucky are we as fans of Star Trek to have such high quality new episodes in the 2020s during a global crisis? We're getting so many amazing new episodes. I think even the sheer quality of what we're getting from Star Trek Discovery season 4, knowing the conditions under which it was made, deserves a standing ovation. I don't think that people quite understand that all of the cast and crew and writers and producers, they've gone through the same year and a half that we have all just lived through. So my mind is just blown that they've been able to pull this off consistently every week. And this episode, which is, I believe, the end of part 1 of the season.
Yeah, we've got like a little mid-season break now. Yeah.
I'm just blown away. Everything comes together for me this season. For the first time, the crew episode, I'm, getting to know the crew, not the crew who make the show, the crew on the Discovery, getting, the cinematography is always wonderful. And even the balance between the interpersonal themes that we get, personal journey, interpersonal connections between 2 characters, and then the overarching grand themes that I know some of our fellow Trek fans hate, like, why does there always have to be an existential threat in every single season of Discovery? I just really love the fact that we get, just such a great balance. I mean, balance is really the word for this season. I actually have, and I know your listeners can't see this, right next to my television, which is right here, that you can't see on my background, I have a little balance. This is so corny. It's one of those,
No, but it's cool. It's a little thing that has balance and like handwritten script kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that this season really exemplifies that. All of the elements of story are coming together. But that's what Star Treks do in season 4. They start hitting their stride.
This is true.
It has tended to be true. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So glad that you're enjoying it. I know we are as well. So Chrissie, kind of your initial impression of the episode?
I think I've said this every episode this season. This was very Trek, and maybe, I don't know why I feel the need to say that. Maybe because so many people are all, earth-shattering, galaxy-ranging, problem, or they complain about Burnham or whatever. But, I mean, we literally, at one point in the episode, we had 2 of the characters talking about the importance of first contact with new types of life and new peoples. And what else is there? What else is Star Trek but that? So, very good episode.
Yeah. Okay. Brandon, your initial impression?
So I'm still trying to figure out what I think of this episode here. Like, there's some really good high moments in this episode that I really, really enjoyed. But there's some parts in it where I was just like kind of sighing throughout when I was watching it. So like I'm kind of at a midpoint, and this is episode 7. This is the first episode of the season that I don't think has hit the ball out of the park for me. So I've really been loving this season so far. I think it's been fantastic, and there's some really amazing moments in this episode. But I don't know. I think by the end of this episode, or at the end of our discussion, I'm probably gonna say that this one was a miss for me. So, but we'll get there.
Okay, maybe we'll turn you around. Sometimes we have. So,
It's true.
Okay, my initial impression, Brandon. We're back to where we've been sometimes, where I feel like the opposite that you do. This was the kind of episode that I needed. I was completely blown away by this episode because, as you said, Chrissy, it was very Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Like I tried to make a list of like all the different themes. So I wrote down trust, connection, communication, understanding, not being ruled by fear, not assuming hostile intent, being seen, first contact. Like for me, this had everything I love about Star Trek within one episode. And as I've said before, I love the Zora character, and I love how she further developed and what happened here. And it's kind of a continuation of last week. Like, this is not the evil computer. This is not Control. This is not HAL 9000 from 2001. This is a fundamentally good entity that is really trying to work its way through things the best that it can. And then seeing kind of these galactic representatives getting together to work together toward a common solution and actually deciding that they wanted something peaceful to really try that solution. For me, like, this encapsulated the best parts of Star Trek that I really love. And I feel it's well earned because I feel like Discovery has had kind of this long kind of meta arc since the first episode, where it's gone from a really difficult and dark place and kind of gradually moved to a more and more hopeful place. And now I feel like they've gotten to a really amazing place that I love. So I wrote this on my little mini review on social media. For me, I think this may be my favorite episode of all of the Discovery episodes. I was very impressed by it. I loved it like so much. We are in such a different place about this episode, Brandon, but yeah, I really loved it. I thought it just kind of hit all the spots that I really want a Star Trek episode to hit. So,
and I can see that. Like, so what you're saying, I can see. Okay, so like I'm not saying you're wrong on any of it. It's just
my personal opinion. There's no way to be wrong about it. Like, it's my opinion.
No. Like, what I mean, though, is like, I can see how this could be somebody's favorite episode. Absolutely. Because of some of the messages and stuff that are in it. But I'm just like, I don't know. I'm working out with why it doesn't work. Like, we'll talk about it and whatnot. But yeah, I could totally see what you're saying. So it's not like I'm like, okay, oh, we didn't watch the same episode, man. This was just trash. Like, it's not. It's not. There's some really good stuff here.
I can understand that. And I've had that sometimes with some episodes where I'm like, oh, I'm not sure what I feel about this. So I can totally understand that. But let's start out by kind of getting into, one of the main things, which was the plot about Zora. So at the beginning of the episode, I think it's a week after the last episode, and we find out that Zora's been kind of working this problem from what they found out from, Book and these particles coming from beyond the galactic barrier and trying to figure out the coordinates. So we find out toward the beginning, Zora has figured out what those coordinates are, but does not want to share it with Discovery. So then there's kind of a series of scenes that include an interesting array of people. There's Stamets and Culber, there's Saru, there's Dr. Kovich, there's Adira and Gray, and they're all just kind of trying to work through this because they need these coordinates to find out what's going on with this thread, at least to communicate with it. And they kind of, I'm just giving like an overall summary before we talk about it, and they kind of get to this place where there has to be kind of mutual trust that goes on, and they kind of get to that toward the end of the episode, and Zora is able to join Starfleet. I know that makes it sound more simple. I think there was a lot of steps to get there, but I really love this part of it, and I've loved the Zora character, and this was an important part of the episode. But like, Ebony, what did you think about kind of the Zora plot line within this episode?
Well, like so many Discovery fans, I have loved Zora ever since the short trek Calypso. She was certainly a highlight of those early treks. And so I think many of us were wondering when, she would appear or, reveal that she was sentient. to the crew of the Discovery. And so, wow, lots of thoughts. I mean, I think that part of the episode was so strong. I had a hard time distinguishing between the A plot and the B plot. So I said, well, is this episode about Zora and whether or not she'll give up the coordinates? And then, what is the AI sort of psychiatrist's name? I'm bad with names. Kovich, yeah. So Kovich, so we had the set, the setup of Kovich. I said, well, is this the main plot of the episode, or is it what's going on in that Federation chamber? Because it was just so strong. And we know how sometimes B plots of Trek episodes sometimes fall short and are not as compelling. And you maybe on rewatch, you might fast forward. I don't fast forward. Yes, I do sometimes. It depends on the trek. But in this case, I just really felt compelled. I mean, I thought about the ethical implications. I do think that the story of Data and some others, in the intervening time has been sort of glossed over by, the storyline. So I would hope that, we're not thinking that this is landmark, right? Like, so there have been other artificial intelligences and artificial minds that have been part of the Federation before, have received Starfleet training before. So, although I understand, how the control plot within Discovery ties into how Zora is perceived and some of the fears of the crew and the Federation vis-a-vis Zora right now. I understand that is something that we have to contend with, but I think I had to suspend a little bit of my disbelief and not think about 24th century Treks and go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I think the difference between someone like Data and Zora is Data is not a part of the computer, right? Is not completely integral to the thing that they need in order to do the things that they do, and as this very kind of powerful thing. But sorry, Chris, you had something?
No, yes, I did, but I didn't want to interrupt you.
That's okay. No, that I think it is different because it's the ship's computer that's reached this kind of full sentience. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. But so many times within TNG and, those episodes we've all watched and rewatched, Data being compromised was definitely a key component of the Next Generation. And so many of those plots. And I'm just thinking about, between Data being compromised and then in Voyager, 7 being compromised. And so I thought that this was, so I see what you're saying, but I just had to kind of not think about the Next Generation or Voyager for a part of it. So I tend to be a generous viewer because I love Discovery. It's my favorite currently airing Trek. But and I felt so compelled, and I was rooting for Zora. I did not, I was, I don't know how I felt about like her giving the crew the means to exterminate her. But
yeah, that was an interesting thing to do.
So, but I'll just close and I'll finish by saying, just emotionally, I thought that plot worked this week. Yeah, okay. Emotionally it works because we love Zora.
Yeah, Chrissie, what did you think?
So I've been talking about the whole thing of whether Maddox v. Data is going to be used as a precedent here, and I think we have actually seen somewhere that you can draw a direct line. And that is not necessarily Zora herself, but that prohibition against having integrated intelligent AI seems to me a result of the determination that Data is a sentient being and not, as the JAG officer says, a toaster. Data is not property. Therefore, you can't put property in as an integrated piece of the ship. Zora can't be property, but then where does that leave all the pieces? So I think we have a direct line from Measure of a Man, but it's complicating things.
It's complicated because Zora is an integrated part of something that is Starfleet property, which is the ship, right? And she even says, like, you want me in another form, but this is who I am. I don't want another form. I want to be a part of this ship. So, yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about. I think there's more ethical implications than they had time to really get into, I think.
We will, I've no
doubt.
doubt.
Go ahead.
But Kovich actually does make a point of that to Burnham before we know where that's going to end up going. He says the Starfleet ship when she says it's my ship.
Yes.
So, which I had not connected until just now when you mentioned that. Yeah. Also, totally random. Burnham's ready room is just everybody's office.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead, Brendan. Sorry.
See, this episode, I'm glad you started here because this part has a lot of meat on it. And I think we're going to spend some time discussing this. Okay. So I want to start with, like, Stamets is not wrong in his initial stance. Okay. Because, like, this is not just as simple as Zora is a life form. Okay. Zora is a computer virus that has come into this system from the sphere data. Okay. This is
Not
something
really.
that has been put into the computer and has changed the fundamental nature of the computer of this system. Okay. I don't
know if I'd call it a virus, but
what would you call it? It's a computer virus that has jumped into Discovery.
well, I think of a computer virus as something that is engineered with malicious intent to do damage to a computer. Whereas if Zora is coming from the sphere data, I think what has happened is that sphere data had, I think, the best of intentions. And it's been a while since I've watched it, but if I'm remembering right from season 2, the crew of the Discovery knew that but I'm trying to think, was it that they said yes to it coming in, or it just came in as it died and they didn't have any say in it? I'm trying to remember.
It's been a while since I've seen season 2. What were you going to say there, Ebony?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I was going to support you, Brandon, because, I was like, I loved it, but remember, I haven't processed it yet. But I think you're right, because I just saw it. Remember, Zora says that she's she's part sphere data, she's part, or maybe somebody else says it.
No, she does.
Maybe it's a deer. Okay.
Yeah, she does. I think she says I'm the sphere data, I'm the logs and the systems and
She's
all
the
that
log,
stuff.
but then she's also more. So did you buy that,
Yeah,
Brandon?
more than that.
She's
Yes.
like sort of amalgamation of.
Yeah, I do, because like the sphere data combining itself with the computer, right? It's working out and there's something happening and it's been fundamentally changed. So I absolutely buy when Zora says, I'm more than the sum of my parts. And I buy that there's stuff going on here. And, like, the interesting thing about this is, like, the writers can write whatever story they want. And, like, Discovery's taken a significant tonal change over its 4 years. Like, the tone of what we've got right now with love and hugs and dealing with trauma and talking about your trauma and talking through your trauma is very different than where we started, where, like, we've got a captain we can't trust. We've got crew that doesn't trust each other. We got negative attitudes from everybody. Like, the show has changed drastically. So they can write whatever they want. And they're writing that Zora's a positive character. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But the thing is that Stamets is not wrong. Okay,
He's not wrong to be cautious, for sure.
Yeah, Zora has outright refused an order. Okay, so like, like wherever they write this, okay, we could have the story next week where Zora decides to do what Data did, and when they went off to see Soong and release some toxic gas or whatever and get everybody off the ship and then just go off and take off. Because, like, you know what? Because they didn't want to do what Burnham said to do. We've got Stamets.
Hold on, that could happen. But as Saru says, like, I or some other crew member could do something that's harmful to the ship.
That's
Anybody
right.
could potentially do that.
But all of these people are just people, and they can be easily stopped. Okay, this is an intelligence that's in control of the entire ship. Okay, look at what would Stamets have done. Let's say Stamets was a robot that was hooked up to the ship at the end of season 3. Okay. He would have taken over Discovery, kicked Burnham off, and gone to the Dilithium planet to save Hugh Culber and Adira. Why? Because that was his priority. He didn't care about anything else except for that. What if Zora decides that something is more important? And that's what she did here today. She says, no, my interpretation of what you guys are going to do with these targeting coordinates is I've made my decision for you. Now, they talked it out. Okay. So yes, there's trust at the end of it. But, like, Stamets is not wrong in his concern and whatnot. Now, on top of that, though, I loved how the end of it, okay, Stamets is talking. It's like, hey, we got to trust each other. You've got to trust me. Trust is important. Okay, so I did like that as well. And I even loved the very end where he's talking with Kovich, and he's like, what would you have done? And Kovich's like, I would have transferred you. Right, which is probably the proper situation there. That's probably the proper thing to do. Because I know that Zora is going to be a positive character and a positive influence. I don't think that the writers are going to pull a fast one on us, right? I don't think we're going to see that at all.
Yeah, I don't think so. But I see what I'm wondering about that hasn't maybe quite been answered is when they get to the kind of heart of it and say, you know, what does your programming say that your priority is? And she says to care for discovery. And it's like, whoa, that's different. And that can lead to some different things where you think caring for them is not putting them in danger, but, you know, being in dangerous situations is what they do to help save lives. But now that at the end, they've kind of gotten to the point where Zora says, yes, I want to join Starfleet. I want to take this oath. Is it the case now that like her kind of core programming about the actions she takes has changed from I do everything to care for Discovery to basically I think what any Starfleet officer would do, which is, you know, I follow the orders of my commanding officers with probably like a little proviso, whether it's said or not, that if it's, you know, an insane or illegal order, you don't actually follow it, you know? Is that kind of how Zora feels about things, or would she take that literally, and maybe if there is an insane order that's given by a commanding officer, she would go with it? I don't know. But I agree. I think they're going to have her as a positive influence, which I love because we have had so many, even in Star Trek, you know, artificial intelligences and computers that are malicious, that are evil. Like, it's nice to have for a change something that's a positive influence. I love that, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. But, you know, it may lead them to some situations where there might be some difficulty, or she might, you know, disagree with a decision. But that could happen with anyone. Like a first officer could disagree with a captain's decision and maybe take some action they shouldn't. So anyway, I don't know where it's going, but I like that they're kind of tackling this and handling it in a different way than we've seen before. Yeah,
like I agree. I'm looking forward to this and having like a positive artificial intelligence, because everything about artificial intelligence, Terminator, right? Like everything, it could take over the planet and kill us all, right? That's all that artificial intelligence has ever been. And so like we are colored to perceive artificial intelligence
except for data
that
most
way.
Of the time.
Except for data, that's right. Now, you know, like it, but I mean, like at first it seems really odd. And right, and I might just need to get over it. Like, I mean, like the weirdest thing that I've had recently, where I've been like, okay, this is just really weird, and it took me a bit to get over, was the time travel in 11/22/63 by Stephen King. Right? I mean, like I know that's a weird reference, but it's like they're just like, oh, I run this burger joint in the middle of this town, and you're not going to believe this, man. My closet is a frickin' time machine. Just walk through this, and you're in 1958. I've been buying the same hamburgers every day for the last 20 years because I go back there and it restarts. Like, it's bizarre, right? But once you get over that, okay, this is kind of a really neat concept. Okay, so
yeah. I mean, we all have to suspend our disbelief about certain things about any show. But yeah. Other thoughts on kind of Zora or this whole plot line?
Does everybody hate Stamets now because he was mean to Zora? Just like in fact, Pulaski was mean to Data?
No. I saw you put that on social media, but I don't feel that way. I think his caution was absolutely valid, and he got to a place where he was like, okay, now we can be in a place. I thought actually this was the best Stamets episode that we've ever gotten, because he really got to a place where, like, a lot of times he's kind of standoffish, or, you know, he's rude or whatever. Like, I think that's softened somewhat over the years, but this was a time where I felt like there was a genuine connection with someone or something else, in this case Zora, where they could trust each other. So, and I thought what he had to say was beautiful, and I felt it was really a strong episode for Stamets, actually.
I didn't see that you put that on social media, and I made a note here. Stamets' process with Zora is like Pulaski over the entirety of season 2, but in 45 minutes.
Bam!
Yeah. Because Pulaski does change in how she feels about Data over season 2, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And I mean, like, Data, up until Measure of a Man, was property, okay? It was Measure of a Man that changed their opinion of that, okay?
I think he was... it was an unsaid thing that he was property. I don't think they explicitly said that.
Right. You're not sitting there and counter...
Okay, sorry. I'm being sorry, Brandon.
No, you're the guest, not at all.
Little Ebony just went, no, he's not. He was never property. But that's, no, you're right. You are correct.
Yeah, I mean, some people at least thought that he was property like Maddox and could do with him as they saw fit, right?
Like the most beautiful thing, I haven't finished the book yet, but the most beautiful thing I've ever read, okay, was Christopher L. Bennett's section in Buried Age when Picard meets and sits down with Data. It is one of the most beautiful sections of Star Trek novel that I've ever read. And just seeing how Picard sees Data differently than everybody else, you can see that in The Next Generation, right? But I mean, like, even still, it took them a long time to realize Data. Like, even if you look at the end of season 4, right? When Data's like, or the start of season 5 of Next Generation, maybe it is, when Data's like, so you're not going to give me a command? Right? And he has to, like, talk Picard through. So even 3 years after they say Data's an independent person on his own, they're still seeing him differently.
Well, and am I remembering right? Because I read it a little while ago. In the Buried Age, which takes place before TNG, I think they kind of stick Data like in a like filing room for 20 years or something, right?
And it's not canon,
crazy,
but it's still.
I know, but it could be plausible because it takes him 26 years to get to where he is in TNG, right? So it's interesting to think about that. There's that bias there in the future. Yeah. It seems like in the 32nd century, maybe I know they have this regulation against kind of the fully sentient integrated AI, but I'd like to think that they've gotten to a place where if it's not integrated into a ship or something, that they see them as equal.
Yeah.
I got a question for Ebony.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Ebony, you said that you've loved Zora since we first saw her in Calypso. So the executive producers of the show have said that they're trying to get us to that point. Now, I'm kind of at the stance where I'm like, I loved Calypso as it is, and I'm fine with this just weird tangent episode. And I don't know how I feel that they're trying to get us there, but I think this episode clearly shows that, yes, they're definitely progressing the storyline to get us there. And I'm like, I don't want Zora to go sit somewhere for 1,000 years, okay? I don't want that.
Yeah, especially if we get really attached to her, right? Because I'm thinking about other machine characters. First of all, I was thinking as you all were just talking, I said, I can't believe this 32nd century Starfleet hasn't run into a machine species. I mean, but it's because we've all read and watched so much other science fiction that I'm just thinking, come on now, guys, you've probably explored the entire galaxy before the burn, and seriously, everybody's organics?
But they haven't said not. And actually, I took Kovich's attitude because of the people that are in the room. I think it's, Kovich, Adair, and Gray, but Kovich was doing a lot of the talking. So I took Kovich's attitude that he's actually like calmly asking questions and doing an investigation, that they have run across a lot of sentient AI and machines, and it's not like cut and dried, right? So I took his kind of calm, methodical attitude about it, that they were very used to it, and he was trying to see where this fit in that spectrum.
Which would really expand Trek so much, because I mean, the Trek universe, just strictly speaking, seems to be like, not just limited to organics and then non-corporeal, higher beings. Right. It's sort of split between that. And we don't have as many interesting, like we don't have the robot kingdom, like from Saga, in Trek. But going back to your question, Brandon, I just think if we get more attached to Zora, that's a good point, because we're not going to want her to be, stuck somewhere for 1,000 years. And then it's like, was that a scrapped idea, from, before they actually plotted out seasons 3 and 4? Because
I think so.
The dates don't work, because I'm thinking, okay, so Zora sits, away 1,000 years, and then the Vajrash, that Kraft is fighting against. I said, well, that's depressing, because then it sounds like the Federation will rise and fall again. And, but I still really liked that episod, and I would love to see.
Yeah. So, what are you thinking of?
What happened?
You have a revelation?
Oh my
Brandon?
Goodness. I just had a revelation of something here, and this is going to jump into our other storyline here. What
this is where I'm never sure if you're serious or about to make a joke.
I am.
You're serious. Okay.
Tarka was talking about being from an alternate reality.
Yeah.
He's not from No, I had this misunderstanding at first. He's not from an alternate reality. His friend is in an alternate reality that he's going to meet him in.
Okay. So
he's from Risa. He only works in outer space.
Okay.
He's going to his new home in an alternate dimension. But go ahead.
He's going to his new home in an alternate dimension. Okay, but I mean, like, okay, so that would if what we saw in Calypso was in an alternate reality, that explains the lack of the A.
Yeah. Could.
That would explain the lack of the A, and that would explain it being there, sitting there for the 1,000 years instead of jumping forward.
Okay, let me go.
Right, because in an alternate reality, they sent it off to a corner of the galaxy.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because when this happened in the episode and Tarka was talking about this alternate universe, I was like, okay, I didn't see that coming. Like, what is the reason for this?
What if the guy from Calypso is the guy that he's talking about? We got to watch Calypso again. We got to watch Calypso again. So
I don't know. But he said he was a scientist. I don't think Kraft is a scientist.
No.
But I think there's something that may be valid there, because like also as I was watching this episode, I was like, oh, I love so much Zora so much is making my heart full, and then I'm like, and she has her family and all of that, and then I'm like, and then she's going to be alone for 1,000 years. That's really sad, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, like I know how you feel, Brandon, but for me, I felt the way you did. Like, if Calypso is just this corner of the Star Trek universe that we never revisit, that's fine, because it's amazing. I think it's one of my favorite things in all of Star Trek, and they do such incredible work in that episode. But if they do actually connect it up, now I'm interested to see how they do it and what the plan is, because, yeah, this is a different discovery in a lot of ways, and you have to sit there for 1,000. So I don't know what they're going to do, but I like your idea that maybe...
I'm tweeting that out as soon as we're done talking here.
Okay.
Well, that's brilliant, because I think we are going to have some timeline. I know we're not, at the part of the podcast where we probably talk about that, but
no, you can talk about whatever you want now.
I keep wondering when they're going to intertwine the timelines, because of course, like everybody else last season, when the Kelvin timeline was mentioned, or this of it, during the two-parter around Mirror
the one
Universe,
with Giorgio,
Philippa. I want to know how they're going to do it, like, because now that the properties, they have access to both timelines.
It's a good question. I mean, they did mention the Kelvin timeline last season. I don't know if that was just like, hey, it would be cool to mention this, or if there's any interaction or anything they're thinking about. I don't know.
Are there any other timelines we know of in Trek besides Prime or the original Mirror?
I'll bring up one of my favorite TOS episodes. The alternative factor, that guy was from an alternate timeline. Okay.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. TOS.
He's going to be the scientist that
that would be
over. No, that would make Brandon happy.
What if the scientist is Lazarus? What of Lazarus? I love it.
Yes.
I love it.
It's one of Brandon's missions in life to get people to like the alternative.
The alternative factor is great.
It is good. It would have been so much better if it had been what it was supposed to have been. But
I agree.
Before we get away from Zora and Calypso, I have also had a bit of an epiphany here. So when I saw Calypso, and I really didn't think about it until we were getting into Zora being this genuinely sentient artificial intelligence, I wasn't entirely sure that she was in Calypso. I wasn't entirely sure that she was like fully sentient versus just a computer who's reacting to what's around.
I totally thought that she was fully sentient.
Well, now I do. Now I do think that, because of the new information we have. But having thought that, we're now talking about basically sentencing a sentient being to 1,000 years of what amounts to solitary confinement, however she gets there. And so that is absolutely horrible. So I don't want to see that happen now, or that happens because a baddie does it.
But they could have another way of going about it.
Understood. But
what if my thought's right though? Like, so they didn't censor her, so they had the sphere data, input it, and then they just sent the ship off right away for 1,000 years, and then over that 1,000 years, all Zora had was a bunch of old movies to watch in order to develop her personality. Right?
As they didn't know that she was sentient. And that I'm okay with, because they didn't know. But
in that alternate universe,
now
this better be it, because that's the best thing that's ever come out of this franchise. If that's what happens,
it would be incredible. I think it's incredible personally that this like 15-minute short that probably not everybody that's even seen all of Discovery has seen is becoming an important part. I think that's cool. But we could talk about Zora for hours, I'm sure, and there will be more. But let's talk about the other part of the episode, which is kind of this galactic conference. So there's people that have been brought together from all over, Earth, Navarre, Trill, all kinds of species maybe we haven't seen before. And they're there to kind of talk about, what do we do about this anomaly, right? And in the course of it, Tarka speaks and gets his thing in where he's saying like, hey, we can, sever this device from the anomaly. It'll go poof. But, Burnham ferrets out its isolytic weapons, which are banned under Khitomer Accords. We don't know what'll happen. So there'll be kind of two different sides. And I think the really interesting part is Book speaks on one side, Burnham speaks on another side. So it drives a wedge between them to the point where at the end of the episode, Book is going rogue. But they have these two options. It's peaceful contact to see what's going on and what the intent is, or we attack using Tarka's weapon. And so they vote on it, and the peaceful contact kind of wins out. But, Tarka decides to kind of steal the next generation spore drive and convinces Book to go off. And that's kind of where the cliffhanger is for the episode. So anyway, that's just kind of like a general thing. But this kind of conference and what's going on with Book and Burnham and Tarka, like, what did you think about this part, Ebony?
Oh, I loved it because one of my favorite original series episodes is Journey to Babel.
Yes.
And it's not just because we get to know more about Vulcans and Spock's family, which, is always interesting. It was just seeing some of the other species, and I don't know if back then I would defer to the three of you because you've done much more of the reading than I have. I've completed all of the viewing. So I've watched every single Star Trek
cool.
as of August. So it took me that long to catch up on all of the episodes. And
there's a lot.
Nice.
So I loved the section that was all about the, seeing the Federation come together, voting on what they were going to do about this threat. It reminded me a little bit of Journey to Babel, where you had, sort of, this, intrigue among parties, among key species. My question is shared by several on Twitter, so I did get spoiled for this. Where the hell are the Klingons? Where are the Klingons? Like, have the Klingons disappeared?
Yes.
Almost 1,000 years in the future, or is it just, they just not
It's a good question. And I mean, it's a notable thing also because we saw lots of Klingons in Discovery seasons 1 and 2, and we haven't really seen them since then. There was a reference in here. It's a really good question. I feel like maybe there's something intentional about it, and we'll get the story of that. But yeah, I mean, because we do see we see, Vulcans and Romulans and Andorians, and we've seen, Tellarites, even Morn species. Like, we've seen lots of different species, but the Klingons are notably absent.
I'm gonna be upset if Ash saves the day at the end of the season.
Ash Tyler, he times travels forward and he's like,
Ash.
You know what, guys? I'm here to save the day, and now I'm going to go back. So,
or yeah. the kid on Boroth, whose name
the
I
kid,
forget.
yes.
Yeah, the son.
Oh, yeah.
That episode really, wrong season, but that episode, my favorite 7 in the whole, because I thought that was kind of trippy, right? Like the rapidly aging sort of.
Yes,
but
that was cool.
My excuse is that I watched soap operas as a child. The other thing I watched besides Star Trek was Young and the Restless. So rapidly aging soap opera syndrome. But yeah, so I was wondering, where are the Klingons? We all know something's up with the Federation president, and it's just being.
I don't think there's anything. I don't think so.
You think that's kind
I've
of a
seen
red
that
herring?
lots online. There's a lot of people who think that there's malice behind this person, and I don't know. I think she's on the up and up. Because even in this episode, right, where she hands this, she's like, Burnham, you can convince these people to go peace, right? Like, I don't know. So I'm not getting what some people are getting, that there's this Badmiral.
I also think one of the things they're doing in this season, which I love, is, and I've kind of been amused by it. Like, people saw Vance and they're like, oh, is there something up with him? Oh, is there something up with President Rilak? But I was confident that there wasn't. Like, I really feel like one of the things that they're doing in this season is that they're showing us the potential for, goodness in sentient beings, like real goodness, and that Rilak has that, and Vance has that, and Zora has that, and all of that. So
So we're seeing good morals and not bad morals,
Yeah.
and we're not seeing incompetent or evil leadership of the Federation.
I think he's a good one. But Chrissy, what do you think?
I think Lorca made everybody think that anybody in command is, except for Pike,
Yeah.
is bad. But I was not sure about Rilke either. I'm still not. I think she is, and I'm going to put on my political junkie hat here, I think she might be neoliberalism personified. With that whole, like, I'm only going to go far enough to make sure that things aren't going to collapse, but I'm not necessarily going to actually do the things that are necessary unless somebody really pushes me to it. And then, so I'm not sure about her yet. But
that's interesting. I think she's been very thoughtful and had a lot of wisdom, but yeah.
Well, that's why I say, neoliberal, like modern American Democrat kind of thing.
Okay.
So but I'm going to pop this.
But here's okay. Sorry, I'm just going to go ahead to a question that I had because it was very interesting in the split between Book and Burnham, where Book is like, we got to take this action, we got to go with Tarka's plan. But on my rewatch, I was noticing, and Book had this in a previous episode when he was talking to Tarka. He seemed to have skepticism, like, what's in it for this guy? Mm-hmm. And we get this story from Tarka, like, I think he was a slave under the Emerald Chain. This other guy he wants to go home, but he doesn't name who it is. And so I wonder if, it seemed like he was genuine when I watched it at first, but then I was like, is he just doing this to manipulate Book because he totally needs, a ship to plug in this spore drive, right? And so then I was also thinking, like, okay, is Book doing the kind of thing where he goes along with it in order to eventually stop him, or is he really going along with Tarka? Is he really whole hog into this? What do you guys think?
I think he's whole hog into this, and I think it started, I don't know if it was last episode or the one before, with the prisoner Felix, right? Where he was upset with Burnham's choice there.
And he said Burnham was wrong,
Right? So now, so this is the other plot line that I'm kind of not happy with here. So, with how this turned out at the end, I don't, it feels so cliche to have Burnham and Book on opposite sides of something and going against this and putting this wedge in them and then having Book run off and to do this because look, maybe it's episode 8, maybe it's episode 9, but we're just going to get the heartfelt emotional speech from Burnham to Book where she convinces him that what he's doing is wrong, and then at the end of the episode Book punches Tarka in the face and saves the day.
I don't think that's what's going to happen.
I don't either.
I hope not. I really hope not.
Yeah, I've started to become convinced that Book is doing this so it can be convincing, and so that he can be along with Tarka and stop him at a certain point, and that he doesn't have to be convinced by Burnham or anyone else. Actually, I really liked in this episode that, because I think it could have been a cliched thing that Burnham talks to him personally. He's like, you know what, you're right. But I kind of like that he kind of stuck with where he was going with it. But I think it's a possibility that he's just going along with it in order to see where Tarka is going, because Tarka could have, I don't know, gone off and done something else or with someone else, but maybe this helps to control it in some way. I don't know.
But I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. Because I think that would be a really lame way to take the story, is if that's just what happens, because we've seen that before. But I don't think it would be a good plot line either if Book's just faking this, because I wouldn't buy that either. Book's gone through a lot of trauma this season, right? With losing his planet, right? Yeah. And while I didn't think it really fit his character when he was so upset with Burnham's choice over Felix, like I said in our discussion, those decisions felt like they should have been swapped. But we are getting that change in the Burnham character. It didn't make sense to me that he was upset with Felix expressing his own agency when Book had just expressed his own agency to go and chase after the data in that dark matter anomaly.
Yeah, I know. We talked about that.
But I don't know. So even if it turns out to be he's just trying to play along and trick with him, then that doesn't seem like a good plot either to me. So I hope it's neither. I hope it's something different. But
what is your third option you would prefer to see at this point, or is there not one?
Well, I can't see a third one. Those are the two logical choices for where this story's going to go. So, or
it could be that Tarka somehow comes to an understanding when he sees this species and has a change of heart, but I'm not sure if that would be genuine. But
yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't have an answer for a third option.
Okay.
I can only see these two and I hope neither of them are.
Okay, Chrissy?
I have two pieces of absolute and utter speculation that I wanted to talk about here. This is one of them. I don't think Book comes out of this alive. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he's expecting to come out of it alive, because if he was, he wouldn't have left Grudge.
Like leaving Grudge behind, yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, at the very least, he thinks it's going to be really dangerous.
Yeah. I didn't want to voice that, but I thought that too. Okay, so
I did have that thought.
The middle ground is that he's genuine about this, and then he realizes how bad it is, and he sacrifices himself in order to stop it. And it's a little bit tropey, but not entirely, and certainly not for Trek. I hope that's not the case, because Book's awesome. Yeah. I love the character, but
I don't know that I don't know that Discovery could do that. Like they killed Adira. No.
Yeah.
No.
What's the android?
Oh,
in season 2.
Yeah. Arian.
Yeah.
Arian. They killed Arian. Yeah. Okay.
So important that we all remembered her name.
Yeah. I loved Osakin, okay, and Osakin is one of my favorite characters, but I still really think they should have killed Osakin at the end of season 3. That would have made more sense for the character.
The scene with the dog.
And the sacrifice that she was
going
through.
Didn't agree then and don't agree now.
But so I don't think that they have the balls to kill off Book to this, because he's a loved character, right? I love Book. I think he's a great character.
Spoiler, so is Ned Stark.
Yeah, but that's Game of Thrones, okay? That's not written by Star Trek people, and that was written way before the TV show. You know that the creators of the Game of Thrones TV show wanted Ned Stark to survive season 1. They wanted to change it, right?
I know.
So...
Sorry,
okay,
Justin.
guys, this is a Star Trek
Apologies.
podcast. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, but I did have that... I did have that thought, but I think it's one of the reasons why I was thinking, okay, maybe he's playing along, because if he really isn't, and he's part of this thing that uses these banned weapons, and like, I don't know if there's a way back for him where you can really feel respect for him anymore, and where the relationship between Burnham and Book is salvageable, which would be sad, but...
I just think that Burnham and Book, as someone who ships them, and I don't have many Trek ships, because it's one of the things I don't do with Trek, but, I have liked their relationship, but I think this episode reveals how fundamentally different their values are at the core. Burnham is always going to be a Federation citizen, or she's going to invoke the Prime Directive. She's going to want to be the Girl Scout in the room. And Book, I don't know that that's him. I think he's a by any means necessary, the ends justify the means kind of character. I mean, he's a great character. I think they're both equally ethical, so I'm not trying to weigh them in the balance, but that's what this episode really revealed to me about their relationship. And we know if your values are different, then your relationship, you really don't have as much ground to stand on as maybe you thought at initial attraction.
Yeah, and like if I think about the way that their lives as we know them have gone, I mean, you have someone like Burnham who, yes, has been through like a lot of trauma and a lot of difficulty, but in a certain way, like Starfleet has been her guiding star in the Federation ideals, even at her just about her lowest point. Whereas for Book, that was something that was like a rumor, a myth, and he's getting used to it, and he's like, oh, okay, maybe. But then this big thing happens where his planet's destroyed. And to him, that doesn't mean anything, because as he said, he's like speaking for the dead, right? Like that is his whole purpose. He doesn't see a way except getting back or having revenge. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with it. I'm not sure how they deal with it, and I'm not sure if they can deal with it in a way that both Brandon and I will be happy, but
I will be happy if it is neither of those two options. That's
if they pick a third one you can't think of.
That's how I'm going to be happy, okay? So okay. I just want to say, Ebony, you may not ship a lot of people, and you may ship Book and Burnham, but you got to be shipping Tarina and Saru, right?
I was going to say that.
They are, yeah.
I was like, is this a ship? Is this because I don't know. Just
totally
my tweet, and I was like, oh my god, I love them. Tarina is perhaps one of my favorite Vulcans, and I know I'm going to get, because y'all know, like, I love our Spock, but I also have my Spock critiques because that's my mom coming out of me. But I love T'Pol. I love like Tarina is just she rocks. And oh my gosh, that's really a ship. That's really a thing.
Yeah, it totally is. But the name I gave it hasn't caught on yet, but I call them Taru because I think that would be.
I've been trying to think of one.
Yeah, I saw somebody else say Serena, which I don't know. That's another name, really, but I like Taru. But yes, okay. If we're to take a tangent, Saru and Tarina are awesome. Actually,
so cute.
Doug Jones was on the Ready Room, the show with Will Wheaton, and he asked him about it, and I think Doug Jones said that wasn't the original intention, but he and Tara Rosling, who play the character, were like, we think maybe there's something here. So I think they just gave that feedback, and then it's turned into what it is. But yeah,
Nice.
yeah, no, I think they're great, and we'll see where that goes.
That's the thing. I ship every other thing, but my favorite thing I don't really ship much at. I just always think Trek is terrible at building effective romance, and this actually is work, because that's what I was like, dare I hope. And so
I think it's going that way. but yeah, I mean, we'll have to see where it goes with book. Like, I'm intrigued to see if they pick a different option or if it's something unexpected, but like, the thing I'm also intrigued about is, okay, now we have those coordinates and we're going off somewhere outside the galaxy. Like I said last week, I'm excited about that. Like, let's see what's out there. Let's see a new species and what's going on. And I think we're going to get there in February. Unfortunately, we'll have to wait. But like, do you guys have any speculation for what's going to happen in the back half of the season, or where we're going with this?
Absolutely.
species?
It's he didn't die in Star Trek 5, but they're going to meet the god entity, and it's really going to be him.
See, that was at the center of the galaxy, though. That's different.
They blew him out of the galaxy.
Okay,
right?
he's outside the galaxy.
Outside the galaxy now.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Makes sense. Spock's other sibling would
I
show
was
up.
gonna say,
Cybok!
Yeah.
Oh, Cybok comes back. Oh, I love it, Chrissy. I love it.
It's alternate universe Cybok in a synth body, and he's now like 1,000 years old.
Is Lawrence Luckinbill still alive?
Best season ever.
I do want the DMA. Is that the name of the entity? I want the DMA to be actually malevolent, because I feel like lately Trek has had this thing where, setting aside the Kelvin movies where, you had sort of the villain of the week in all three. I like the Kelvin movies. Please don't shoot me. I am not one of those Trekkies who hates them.
They're great.
But I'm just saying this for the benefit of the listeners. Like, she doesn't like Kelvin. No, I do. But one of the things I think we've had a tendency to do since the Borg as a franchise is just like, I want an actually scary threat. Like, it's always like, oh, okay, so this is scary. This is menacing. We need to destroy it. But really, it's a kid. Or really, it's, like, I need this to actually be a species that is perhaps so alien that it challenges the Prime Directive, or it challenges, not saying that we haven't had, other species where the Prime Directive was difficult to implement. But I just think that it would be like, maybe they're just really bad and planet killers and planet eaters. I mean, the Kelvin, not the Kelvin universe, but the Kelvins were they the people from?
They're from the Andromeda Galaxy. Yeah. So they turn people into cubes.
Yeah,
terrible people.
The Calandans, or was that what they're called? Is that them?
Kelvins.
Yeah.
The Kelvins?
Kelvins with an A.
Yeah.
Oh,
with an A,
that's how they tied into the Kelvin timeline. Oh my God!
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
But
It's so interesting you say that, because for me, I think it's been too often that we've had something that's had malevolent intentions or tried to be scary. And I am very interested, though, in the alien nature of it. Like, I would like it to be something that is so incredibly alien that there's miscommunication or it's hard to tell what it is. But what I actually want is something that we can at some level, at some point, communicate with or understand, but it challenges all of those things. But I don't want it to be malevolent, really. Like, one of the things that I've liked about what I've seen in Discovery Season 4 is I think there is a positive vibe of, good people working together, trust, communication. Like, that's the thing I'm there for. And some of my favorite things in Star Trek are where it seems like there's going to be a conflict, but it's avoided. Like in the first season TOS episode, I don't know why I'm blanking on the name, but the first one with the Klingons, where you have the Organians and who basically prevent Thank you, Errand of Mercy. I love that episode because they're specifically preventing people from hurting each other or killing each other. So that's my thing that I love. But I can understand if you want it to be
so you don't think
something
it
that's
should
scary.
be like protomolecule, which is another another thing. It's like, oh, she mentioned the Expanse, but like something that is definitely going to kill us, but maybe in the lack of understanding, maybe it's not trying, maybe it doesn't fundamentally understand the nature of organics. But we've had that storyline before in Trek. Trek's done everything. Yeah.
So
just do it again.
Burnham's speech in this episode, right? I loved it, okay? Because that is what Star Trek is. It's like, yes, okay, you know what? We're people, and we all have fears, and we all have concerns, and when you don't understand what's going on, most people come up with what they believe are the intentions of the other. Okay.
Right.
And Burnham's saying, look, let's be peaceful and whatnot. And so I'm okay with a malevolent force, but I'm sorry. I want the resolution to be, let's talk it out and let's fix our problems, because that's why I love Star Trek. Okay. I'm a pessimist and I don't think that we're ever going to get to the Star Trek future. And so I want the Star Trek future to be on my screen as often as possible, because that's why I love this show. I want peace. I want understanding. I want discussion. I want the weapons to be put down, So, yeah.
I feel that way too. And especially seeing an episode like the one this week, which I think does have a positive message, really takes me away from all of the difficulties that are happening in the world. And it has been a really, really tough couple of years, so it's helped me to kind of handle that and deal with that. But yes, I'd like to see that, but we'll see. It could be something that's really scary at first, but then we find out when we communicate with it that it's not, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So I think we'll need to close out in a bit, but any other, thoughts on other bits in the episode or anything else to bring up?
My final thought, they've done it a couple times in Star Trek. I'm not a big fan of the dual speeches overlapping.
I thought that
I
worked
thought you wouldn't like
here.
that.
Yeah.
But I'm with you, Chrissy. I love that. I love the way that it was kind of this cadence, this back and forth call and response kind of thing. But I know you don't like that.
Yeah, it's not working for me here. I don't know.
What do you think, Ebony? You want to to vote on this?
Yeah, no, I love it. I'm with you.
3-1.
It was really, really good. I keep saying I don't ship Star Trek, but I ship Discovery because of Dira and Gray and Stamets and Culber, and then all of Owo and Detmer.
Yes, we've talked about that. I hope that's happening.
Yeah, seeing all of Zora's memories, I said, this is just really a crew that, although I always clamor to know more about the bridge officers that we don't know as well, although I know that's not how the show goes.
Yeah.
I still feel as if we've been able to get over the 4 seasons glimpses of all of them. So even getting to see the crew through Zora's eyes was beautiful. That was one of my favorite parts of the episode. I did love Burnham's speech. I did love Grudge at the end and the little kitty box.
I want that holographic cat toy.
Yeah.
That seemed really cool. The thing that looked like a yo-yo or something. Yes. Yeah, so we'll see where it goes. I know you didn't want any spoilers from the preview. This is not a spoiler, but we will get more Detmer and Owosekun in the back half, it looks like. So good, which is good.
And
that's all I'll say about that.
Non.
Yes, and Non
is coming back, which is great.
Is coming back.
Yeah,
so
which is awesome.
We just see a quick glimpse of her in the preview.
Just a quick glimpse, but she's going to be in there, which is great.
I wasn't even sure it was her.
I think I tweeted out, and people seem happy. I got quite a lot of likes and retweets and whatnot.
I love Non, and she's coming back for a little bit. So one of the things we like to do at the end of this show is canon connections. I have a few, but any... Oh, yeah, you have one other thing?
Sorry, I have my other piece of insane speculation I want to get.
Oh, yeah, sorry. That's your second insane speculation.
No, that's okay.
Let's go for it.
I think the DMA is Tarka's friend trying to get him over to the other universe. Because the thing about how the power is exactly what he needs. So I'm putting it out there. Just, if it comes true, you heard it here first.
So the resolution is just to throw Tarka inside the anomaly.
Yeah.
But he would get ripped apart, so...
Well, if his friend's trying to pull him... Like, again, we talked about Remember Me last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, there's just like a 2 light-year-long rope that comes out of it that he has to grab onto. Sorry, that's ridiculous.
No, that's good. I like it.
But no, like, it's an interesting thought. But like, I wonder, is this story with the friend real, or is that manipulation just to get book along?
And that didn't occur to me until it was brought up here, but yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think about it until my rewatch, and then I was like, wait a minute. Yeah. Is this guy genuine? But anyway, and have any favorite like connections to previous Star Trek that we got in this episode?
No, but I just want to say how much I'm loving David Cronenberg as Kovich again.
Oh, and we got so much Kovich
awesome in this episode. Like, I just loved him. You know, like because we don't know who he is or where he's from, and I'm like, I want to know, but it's like this guy's like just a jack of all trades right now, you know, and I'm like, I'm kind of here for it.
Yeah, I am too. I love. I'm just amazed. Like, you know, they got him, and I was like, oh, you know, David Cronenberg. Wow, he's a big time director, so that's cool. And I thought they'd have him for little bits, but he was in like a lot of the episode.
Good half of the episode, yeah.
Yeah, like half of the episode. And he's been on 6 times already, so it's like, wow. So yes, that is awesome. Mm-hmm. More Kovich. Other things?
They mentioned Aurelio.
And it did mention Aurelio again. Yep. Oh, I also like that we got to see now General Ndoye of the United Earth, who's now a general, and Titan is part of their whatever little coalition that they have, and seems like maybe they'll get to join the Federation at some point. I did think it was interesting that she wasn't one of the yes votes, that she wanted to attack, so a little ways away from where the Federation is going. But I think that's an interesting storyline.
That's where she started.
Going. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. She was, when we saw her last season in People of Earth, kind of, you know, very much about defense of Earth, which makes sense. Other little connections or anything?
I think that it's interesting, since you bring up Okoye, to see how humans, if we can, you know, just judging from Okoye's second appearance and thinking about People of Earth last season, how different we are as, I mean, at least the Earthers, you know, Earth living humans are than we were in Enterprise, where, you know, most of the humans in Enterprise, it's like, what's out there? There's this openness, there's this curiosity.
Yes.
And now 930 years later, well, now 1,030 years after Enterprise, or whatever the timing is. Yeah. But, you know, there's caution, there's still guardedness, and just, you know, what a difference a millennium makes.
Well, yeah, I mean, think about what the Earth was like in 1021, right? Like 1,000 years ago. Like, a lot, you know, there hadn't been contact between a lot of parts of the globe for a while, right? It was totally totally different world, right? Totally different. Yeah.
I'm just going to say they knew how to serve meat better back then with those giant legs and stuff, you know. That's all I'm going to say.
You know, the Viking Age was still...
Might not have been cooked all the way through, and it probably would have been sitting out for a while and make you sick, but sure.
Hey, CDC now recommends you serve your chicken medium rare, so...
And can I right? Oh gosh,
that's terrible.
And let it sit out for 5 days when it has COVID, right? Yeah.
My other observation is just how all of the species we know have definitely evolved over, or not even evolved, but they've changed over the 900 years in ways that feel real and plausible. I know when the jump was first announced, a lot of naysayers said, oh, I don't really trust it. But the Andorians now are not like Shran. The Orions are certainly very different than any that we've seen in any of the previous treks.
Especially in TAS. They're definitely different from that one.
So
it was explained in a novel. He's an Enar.
I haven't got to read the novel.
The Orions in TAS. The Orions.
Oh, the Orions. Oh, sorry. You mean the Orions?
Yes.
Yeah, Orions. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to mention a couple of things. So the isolytic weapon, that was first mentioned in Insurrection. Oh, yeah. So we've got a couple Insurrection references this season. Let's see what else. I know you talked about this at the top of the show, but like let's stop mentioning the Voyager J until we get there. I want to see that ship. So
yeah, we got to make sure you mention Voyager every episode so we don't forget it. Okay, so Ebony, you didn't hear my prediction here, but I've said it before. It's obviously leaving Saru here, leaving him a captain. Obviously, Saru is going to be captain of the Voyager at the end of the season. That's what I think.
Ebony's excited. Like, what? Yeah.
I'm trying not to scream on the podcast. I'm trying to, and I can't mute, so I'm like, and flailing. What?
Yeah.
And that means we need a Star Trek Voyager J. I know they won't let us have one. We already got Strange New Worlds after saying we want a spinoff,
There's
but I would
Voyager
love
J short trek, but yeah. I would love that. They've got to see it.
Well, season 5, we've already said is both ships going at once in the same season.
That's what I was thinking.
Intertwine both seasons, both shows, both ships.
That would be amazing.
I'm on board.
Everybody's excited about that too. So, also we did get to see Emperor Liu of the Al Shane, the quote butterfly people from episode 1. So that was cool to see them, and he was saying like, they've taught us not to fear what we don't know. And in that chamber, there was Andorian, Orion, Lurian, Vulcan, Cardassian, Trill, Schlurm, which is a species from Star Trek Beyond originally, Osnulus, which is kind of the octopus-headed people you've seen Discovery, and there was a Ferengi as well, which is cool. There was also a Data reference because when somebody asked, can all AIs dream, Kovich says none of them can, not unless they've been programmed to do so, and Data was programmed to do so by Noonien and Soong, so that's cool. I think that's about it. But there was some cool little. That was a sly Data reference, I thought. At first, when they said it, I was like, they can't, and I was like, but Data. Oh yeah, not only if they're programmed to do so. There's Data.
Did we find out anything about the one alien who had like the head that looked like a dandelion? People were calling it either dandelion head or COVID head.
COVID head, because it looks like the virus.
I thought Pinhead from Hellraiser.
Pinhead from Hellraiser. No, I don't think we found anything about that, but there was a behind-the-scenes video of on the Ready Room about like doing that scene.
Yeah.
And they showed someone like they had already like had whatever prosthetics, and they were being fitted with like this plastic thing over their head that had all the stuff poking out. But they didn't tell you what species or who they are.
The Federation is so awesome. We made peace with COVID in the future.
And COVID is like now enormous. You can see it on a macroscopic scale. Yeah.
Insentient.
Oh wow, guys!
Oh my goodness, this is the Delta Quadrant variant.
You know what? If they go to another galaxy, it's going to have an Omicron quadrant. Anyway, wow. I'll have to put that at the end.
All right,
okay,
yes.
So Ebony, thank you. It's been a real pleasure having you on the show talking about this Discovery episode. So we really appreciate it. And tell our listeners where they can find you online if they wanted to connect.
So my Trek Twitter account is EB Watches Trek. So Eb Watches Trek. And I'm the author of The Dark Fantastic Race and the Imagination from Harry Potter to the Hunger Games, which was published in 2019 by New York University Press, available where books are sold.
That's so amazing. Sorry, I know you'd mentioned before that you wrote something, but I didn't realize what it was. That's amazing. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, they tell you to pitch your book wherever you go, even if it's slightly unrelated. So it's a theory. So in my other life, I'm a professor of English and education at the University of Michigan. And I work on multicultural children's and young adult literature. And so, and looking at how you teach literature and how literature is used in classrooms. And so, because I've been a science fiction and fantasy fan my whole life, I wanted to know, like, okay, so why are there not lots of characters like me? So I looked at Western speculative fiction and came up with a theory that I called the Dark Fantastic Cycle. And so at first I thought I was just making up stuff. And then I sent it to my mentors. They said, you're onto something here, write this up. And so I wrote a book and people read it and they liked it. So I won some awards and,
nice.
Been able to do some things, gave some talks, and so, but there's no Star Trek in it. Like I'm too close to Trek. Like a couple of friends are trying to write Trek related books on CRT, and I don't want any parts of that. Trek is where I get to fangirl. It's where I get to dream. We're talking about data dreaming. When I cannot like do professional work around something I want to fangirl. So, yeah. So that's my life. I'm a fantasist, and so fantasies work, science fiction's play.
That's awesome. So, okay, so you teach at the University of Michigan. You live in Michigan as well?
Mm-hmm. I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. So
okay.
Love it.
Yeah,
What part
Chrissie
of Detroit?
lives in Michigan. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh, so I grew up near Highland Park, not
okay.
too far from Highland Park. So on the near west side. I'm a Wayne State grad. My master's from there. My doctor's from Michigan. I'm a Wolverine. Go Blue! Okay. Uh-oh.
No, that's okay. I was born in Pontiac, spent the rest of my life up to now in Saginaw. Yeah. And I'm my master's in history is from CMU, so I don't have a dog in the U of M MSU fight. So,
how did we not reveal before this part of the podcast that you're both in Michigan? I don't know.
You know what? So cool. Right when we started, and you have to. This is bad podcaster on me. But right when we started, you mentioned you're on Twitter, or Justin mentioned on Twitter, and so I looked you up, and I was like, oh, this person. We should have introduced you with some of your professional bona fides as well.
No, if you don't vacation.
Okay. Because I'm a big one on like calling PhDs Dr. So-and-so, Professor so-and-so, just because, and especially women, because of what we're in, but you're not in a professional space right now. So I totally get that.
I refuse to let Trek, like it's my last bastion. Because I wrote a book about, some of my fandoms. It ruined fantasy fandom for me because now, I have to give interviews about that and stuff. But Trek, I'm like horrified by the idea of ever doing anything professional. But I use lots of Trek references and metaphors in all of my professor work. Like,
yes. My Western Civ class is open with Patrick Stewart explaining the Epic of Gilgamesh. Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
And I use Darmok in my literacy and discourse class. Like, how do you communicate across differences? Darmok! Watch this episode.
Love it.
Awesome. Okay. I feel like after this, you guys should trade notes about using Star Trek in the classroom.
Well, we should have coffee in the after times if there are.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Now I want to move to Michigan. It sounds like a wonderful place.
It is.
If we ever get to Vegas and, any conventions in the after. Okay, this is I just don't want to think about 2022. Like, it's like, oh yeah, we'll meet up next year. And then it's like, and pan.
I saw the best tweet. Do not hold 2022's beer.
Yes. Are you planning on being at Chicago?
Yeah, I'll be in Chicago if it's not canceled. But I'm hoping it will, Omicron, the wave will crash, and then hopefully, like, we're able to do things between waves. Yeah. So hopefully Omicron, everything's crossed, and we can maybe hang out there.
Yes, we all have to run into each other in Chicago, at least the three of us.
I hope so.
Sorry, Justin.
I won't be there, unfortunately, but yeah.
Sorry.
But anyway, it's been, we could talk to you for a long time, Ebony, but it's been so wonderful having you on.
For having me. I'm so humbled. I don't feel like I know Trek. I just love Trek. So, I just so appreciate being invited to be on podcasts because it's just
no,
you know it.
You know Trek and you love it. You're a fan. Yeah. That's all we're here for.
It's nice to have somebody on the show who finally loves Star Trek, unlike me and Justin and Chrissy.
It's like we all love Trek. Yeah, the Niners. I love your Niners.
Yeah, totally.
All right. Well, I should leave you all to it. And I just so appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
Being here.
I'm trying to rush off because I want to watch the episode again, folks. We don't do it.
Yeah, no, please do.
Somebody watches the episode just once. I probably missed half of, what.
Do it.
All right.
No worries at all. Thanks again. So, Chrissy, I have some flowers here. Don't make too much of it, but the gel from this succulent's flowers give some tea that you may have given me a distinctive taste. Grows in a small equatorial desert on my home planet, and so it should thrive in the hot, dry climate of Michigan. No, that doesn't sound right. I just had to quote what Saru was saying. I'm not coming on here, Chrissy. I'm sorry.
That was beautiful.
But where can people find you when you're not thinking about the Taru ship?
I'm totally here for this discussion on your moist, hot veggie plant.
Okay. And I was trying to find somewhere in here to throw in when Gray was saying that Adira was incandescence. But I feel like if I add that now, there's a whole other weird thing.
On feet, Chrissy, on feet.
Yeah, there we go. Right. So in addition to here on Infinite Diversity, you can find me on History with the Szilagys here on the UFP network. And that's a history podcast I do with my fellow historian partner, Jason. I'm happy to chat about our shows in the Federation Council Chambers on Facebook, and I am also on Twitter at The Goddess Livia, that's TheGoddessLivia, where I tweet about Star Trek history and leftist politics.
All right. And Brandon, where can people find you when you're not wondering if Zora is going to respect your request for privacy in your quarters?
I hope she does. I really do.
See, I mentioned that
too.
just a little aside. This was actually a big part of the Trek Core review that Claire Little did, because she was like, I don't know if I want Zora to be this sentient being that's like, maybe up in my business. But I like to think that you can say, like, you have like a complete privacy shield, like in your quarters, in your bathroom and stuff like that, right? But anyway, when you're not wondering about that, or if anyone else is watching you, where can people find you?
Oh, this is just fantasy fodder here. You can find me on Twitter at Brandon Matella. You can find me here on the network with another show called Infinite Diversity, which is all of... Oh, that's the show.
That's this one.
See, you're distracting me here now. You can find me with Franchise
It's okay.
Fatigue.
You're already fantasizing in your head.
Which is all about movies, remakes, and sequels. And you can find me as well on Good Evening and Alfred Hitchcock podcast, where my friends Chris and Tom and I cover all of Hitch's films in chronological order. Justin, where can people find you when you're not ignoring me, even though I'm trying to get your attention with a little holographic ball?
Oh, yeah. Gretch really wasn't interested in that. I like to think it's because she's smart enough to know that it's holographic and not worth her interest. But it's hard. The cats that we have, they're almost 10 years old now. When they were kittens, they were like, I love these toys. I'm jumping in the air and all that. And now they're just like too old for that. Yeah. Anyway, so maybe that's Gretch. How old is Gretch? We don't know. So you can find me. She's 1,000 years old. She's actually a shape-shifting queen from an alternate universe. Anyway, we're going to find that out in the comic.
Well, we saw her on the cover of Uhura's song there, where she had a band with Spock and Uhura, and Grudge had their own band, right? Yes, listeners. I'm reading the book Uhura's song, which is really great. It is really great.
Cat-like species. Yeah. Anyway, you can find me on Twitter at TrekFan4747, where I tweet about nothing but Star Trek, and you can find me in our Facebook group, the Federation Council Chambers, where we talk about this and other UFP podcast episodes. I hope you'll join us there. Okay, well, Brandon, tell our listeners about the other shows on the network.
Join Amy Nelson and Mark White as they discuss All Good Things, which covers all Star Trek all the time. Join Rhea Papageorgiou, Kevin Scharf, Amy Nelson, and Joe Keegan discussing all TNG all the time. On board, the Galaxy class, which, from what I've seen tweets of, we're going to be seeing next week on Prodigy.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be cool. A Galaxy class ship.
Yes, a Galaxy class simulation, at least. That was cool.
Who would want to be a kid again? Join Chris Tribuzio, Patrick Devlin, and Casey Pettitt as they talk all things under the Disney umbrella with Mickey's Marvels, and they're back with new episodes now. Take a stroll through Star City and discover all things that make Arrow Arrow with Lance Laster and Cavante Chillis on Always Hold On to Arrow. Dive into some cryptozoology with Ken Tripp and Zach Moore as they take a lighthearted and fun look at the cultural phenomenon of Bigfoot on Sasquatch.
Ooh, I like the dramatic tones. Okay, so thank you very much for tuning in to Infinite Diversity. Thank you to our executive producers, Ken Tripp, Tony Robinson, and Zach Moore. And like Chrissy, I will say, and thank you, Brandon, for being executive producer, because why not? And thank you to Zach Tripp for the wonderful theme music and Tony Robinson for the awesome show art. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, and please subscribe. And of course, if you are listening to us on another platform where you can leave a review, such as, Spotify, wherever else you listen to podcasts, let us know, and we will check it out. If you want to reach out, you can find the network on Twitter at UFP Earth, or our show specifically at IDIC Podcast. Actually, I'm going to change that to at Taru. I hope that's okay with you guys. See if it's as long as it's not taken. We are going to be Saru Tarina shipping Twitter all the time. Okay, you can also talk about any and all of the UFP.
Infinite Tarina or Infinite Taru.
Infinite Taru. Yes. Infinite Taru and infinite combinations.
Oh, God. That's a good place to end it.
Okay, there's nowhere. We have to go up from here, I guess. You can also talk about any and all of the UFP podcasts in our Facebook group called the Federation Council Chambers. Wow, the images. Or you can email us at infinitediversity@ufp.earth. On the next episode, we will be shifting gears from Discovery back over to Prodigy with Season 1, Episode 6, called Kobayashi. I wonder what that's about. Kobayashi Maru, maybe? Well, until then, this insane podcast is ending now. Peace and long life.
This has been a production of MTMR Media Works.
Well, before we bring our guest on, then how was your Christmas, guys? How was your holidays?
Good.
It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those weird holidays again with all this COVID stuff ramping up again, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how about you, Brandon? It's cold, isn't it?
It's super cold here right now. Like, it was like minus 40 Fahrenheit this morning.
Ooh.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah,
I have never experienced that in my life.
Yeah,
But-
well,
I have. That
just
sucks.
if you want to, just like take a hammer to your balls, and it's basically the same thing.
I'm not imagining that. I'm not imagining that.
Yeah, it's been
But
been pretty rough up here. It's it's f***ed up too, is that we're like minus 30 for like the last week, like minus 30, 40 Celsius for the last week, and then Sunday it jumps up to minus 4 Celsius. Now 32 is 0 Celsius, so that's like 26, 27 Fahrenheit.
I don't know. It's
Yeah,
all
give or
cold.
Okay, for one day. And then it drops down again to like minus 25 Celsius the next day.
Yeah.
We have like one warm day coming. It's just nasty.
Get out the shorts.
But
Yeah.
did I see that our friend Dan Gunther's on the Positively Trek podcast is like working outside in this weather?
Oh,
did I
is
see?
he?
I think
Oh, I
posted
didn't
something
see
about
that. Is he?
So I was like, oh my goodness. I think it's even colder where he is.
I thought he was a
So
teacher.
no,
he's
he's been
doing something else.
Yeah, he's been doing something that had him running around to all sorts
Super
of...
extra bonus material about
Yeah,
other
there we go.
podcasters. This is going at the end of the podcast. But
Yeah.
but yeah. I think I saw that. Let me
On
see.
Twitter?
Mhm.
Let's look it up.
Maybe it was on Twitter.
I know
Or
for a
it was on
while he
Facebook.
was
I don't
doing
know.
some work with
Oh yeah,
indigenous
so
groups. Okay.
3 days ago, he said, and he put up something about minus 42. I think that's Celsius in Grand Prairie. Feels like minus 53.
Yeah, that'd be Celsius.
And then he said, note the feels like. Nope. I've been at my outdoor job for an hour already. So he has an outdoor job in that cold. Oh my goodness. Yeah,
Is that Twitter?
I was on Facebook like 3 days
Facebook.
ago. And Bruce Gibson put in there, will someone give this man a rock and a phaser, please? I love that.
And
with
put
a
some hot coffee on a
picture of
string and
Naked
run it
Time.
down.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, I cannot imagine. I mean, I've been in cold weather, like a little bit sub-zero Fahrenheit, and that's already too cold for me.
Well, you grew up in warm weather, right?
Well, I spent the first part of my life in Philadelphia. It's not exactly warm
Okay.
there in the winter.
No, but
So
it's not.
It was cold, but
Okay.
it's not super cold. But when we were in New Mexico, it got down to maybe minus 10 was the coldest it got, which is nothing compared to what you guys are going through in Canada. But yeah.
Asking him.
When I lived in Wyoming, there was one week we had overnight lows in the negative 30 to 40s Fahrenheit, and that was enough for me, and I didn't even step outside because it was overnight. But
Yeah.
oof.
I saw you ask Dan what his outside job is.
Yeah.
If we find out in the next few minutes before our guest gets here, we will let you know. But yeah, I can't even imagine that. Whew, it's intense.